So I went and I took all the stuff that I made for SAO GGO and I put it on the table here. And honestly, I didn't think it was going to fill up the entire table. I knew the guns were going to be big. I don't know if I underestimated the size of my table, but this thing is full. I thought I just made a couple of things. Okay, I didn't make all of it. I made a couple of things. Mostly I just bought stuff and then modified it, sometimes rather heavily. Some of it, I mean, like the Silent Assassin, that's mostly stock. I painted it, I added the little S-stock, but for the most part, that's all just the way it came. Alright, I got the Hecate, the KTR-9, and the Len, Pichon. We can get rid of that stuff, and then I'll talk about all the other stuff. Alright, that's a little bit more manageable. I'm gonna talk about these individually, but for the overview, that's the Silent Assassin with the integrated lightsaber S-stock, the Death Gun mask with a hood, that's an airsoft mask, Black Star Type 54, FN57, that's a defense field generator, or a defense shield from GGO, Nachon, actually 2 Nachons, my Kagemitsu EX, and then the Klein'tana. This is Klein's sword. It's the only thing that I made from the original first season. Alright, one at a time here.
He's got a Silent Assassin. It's a high-end sniper rifle that's got a badass silencer on it. I heard rumors about there being one in GGO, but I've never seen it before. If he can handle that gun, he must be some player.
This is my Silent Assassin. It's got like 100 different names. Accuracy International, L96. I don't know. There's a whole bunch of different names for it, which is the problem, and I'll get into that in a second. So the version that I got is the Well MB4403. I got the green one, and originally I had bought it specifically because I was looking for the Last of Us stuff. Joel uses an Accuracy International, and it's green, so I bought the green one. And then I found out the Silent Assassin is actually the same thing. And then immediately I thought I want to put the S-stock in it. And then of course my brain turned on and I was just like, I could put an S-stock in it, or I could make it into a freaking lightsaber. And so now there's a lightsaber S-stock because Eastern 57 brain. So I haven't done too much work to this. This is plastic. I had to split that open, separate it into the halves in order to paint it properly. But that's really the majority of the work that I did on this. This is separate. I could take that out entirely and it would still be perfectly fine. So when I got this, there were a whole bunch of different mysteries that I ended up unlocking. This was the one with the muzzle brake, which in and of itself had 2 different threaded portions. Actually, let me go get it real quick. Okay, it came with this thing on it. The end cap here actually unthreaded, and I couldn't tell what threading that was, so I tried a couple of different things that ended up not working, and then I discovered that you could pull the pin off. That meant that the whole thing could unscrew off, so I tried a couple of more different things. The short version was... This is all the stuff that I bought that ended up not working for this project. They're mostly muzzle adapters, and that goes back to my frustrations with the name. They're all just sort of mishmashed. It's like this works with the L96, or this works with the Well MB series, or something like that, and everybody calls it something different. It was a giant pain in the butt. And then I found this excellent scope mount from DCA. This, I believe, was the single most expensive part out of all of this, including the gun itself, but it's a great scope mount. Where is this thing again? Because I've got more to say about that. Okay, so we'll leave that out for a second. So the funny thing about this was that when I was waiting for all the different muzzle adapters, I ended up making this not accurate muzzle adapter for it. And then when I actually saw this on there, that's when I realized, like, oh, I need to make a Hecate now. Just because, like, that actually looked pretty darn cool on top of it, so... The big challenge with this was just finding the right parts. Fortunately, the majority of the stuff I got from Evic, they had a big chunky suppressor and barrel extension, scope. I think I got the bipod off of Amazon because it was super, super cheap. By the way, I have one extended, just so that it tilts a little bit and you can see it from the overhead light, because otherwise it's all black and it would all just be shadow. I did that with the Hecate video. I don't know if anyone noticed. So yeah, most of this stuff is accurate to the artwork, like big ass scope with the big ass sunshade on it. The Harris bipod, you can actually see like springs on it and stuff in the artwork, so that's accurate. The artwork actually shows the sling connection points. It just so happened that I had these sitting around somewhere, and I had a big ass shoulder pad, and then the rest of the sling. This is kind of like find something that fits the dimensions that seem like that they would fit with when it comes to the S-stock and stuff. So that was a little bit of a trial and error to see, okay, is this big enough, or is this too small, or is this too long, blah, blah, blah. The S-stock itself is some aluminum tube. This is actually aluminum tube also. It's just really thin. I think it's 8mm inner diameter. I had some 8mm clear ABS, and then I sanded it just to get some diffusion. That's actually just some cob LED strip. You can actually get like super thin cob. Like this is 5mm, and you can actually get it, I think, 3mm, which is like nuts to me, but this was perfectly fine because it's a 6mm inner diameter. I just took one big long strip and then glued it together butt to butt. On camera, that looks great. Let's see what it looks like up close. You gotta get pretty close in order to really get that. Well, you got the dark spot from the junction, but really, it looks pretty good, honestly. But one thing else that I did is, hold on, let me grab a wrench real quick. Like this little spot right here, if you loosen it, there's actually a couple of more inches of blade in there. And we'll tighten it up a little bit. So now, it's actually a lot longer. But it would go into the body like a couple of inches. Unfortunately, like the mounting hardware, it's integral to the actual construction, and if I wanted to have the bipod there, so I couldn't actually just chop it out. So this was my solution, was just to make it telescoping a little bit. How long is this now? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 20 inches, which is a respectable Shoto length. This screw point, that was actually a Maglite. This was a section of polycarbonate tube, a little piece of Sintra, and I don't remember what that was. And it worked out great, actually. So the suppressor, this is going to take 2 hands. 1 second. Of course you drop it, you dum-dum. Okay, so I took the end cap off of the suppressor, put that back on. I have an old Tokyo Marui auto tracer. With this on, there's still a little bit of threading left that I can grab onto. And then on top of that, this fits over everything. So I have a tracer unit that works with this. The only problem is that auto tracer uses 4 AAAs. It doesn't have a lithium ion rechargeable. It's got 4 cells in it. And it was already super heavy and ridiculously huge as it is. So like the feasibility of using that setup is pretty low, but it's cool that I found out that it works like that. Loosen that up again. And then this is in the extended. And once it hits, like the end there, the rest will just compress into the hilt because the electronics are maybe 2.5 inches, and the rest of it is just open tubes. And that's the Silent Assassin. It's huge, but it's pretty awesome though too. Oh, one last thing. This was the 338 Lapua that I showed in the other video. Yeah, so the magazine is a little bit undersized also. That's fine. Okay, on to the next one.
Your enemy will be bigger than you, but you can dash between their legs and slash at their inner thigh.
That knife to the nuts was a little overboard, though.
Agreed.
Okay, so this is the Nachan, and what I believe the Nachan was based off of. This is a SAO SEAL team. I got it off of eBay for a pretty reasonable price, but unfortunately not reasonable enough that I feel like I could paint it pink. So this one is still as is. When M gives it to Len, it's a little bit more in its original state. So that knife has a pretty distinct shape. It's got these double points on the spine. It's partially serrated. The hilt is pretty distinct. The only thing that differentiates it is the grooves right there and a lot of the texturing and stuff. And of course, this little nubbin right here. That part you can actually see, and it was one of the ways that I was able to identify this. In addition to the knife, the sheath is actually pretty distinct also. When he hands it to her, like this part is all opened up, and again, that's one of the ways that I was able to identify this by the general shape. It looks like it's actually like green Kydex or something like that, some sort of polymer. I'm pretty sure that they based the knife off of a SAO SEAL team. So yeah, I wasn't comfortable painting that pink, but I still wanted that shape. Unfortunately, there's another one out there called a SAO Aura, and that's a little bit more budget friendly, but it still has pretty much the same general shape. This actually has the same size blade. It doesn't have notches in the spine, but it does have that double bump that kind of distinguishes it. I had to file off a little bit of the blade here. As far as adding on a different handle, that was pretty easy. This is just some sintra and steel stick, the way I determined how small it should be. This was actually a lot bigger, obviously, and I started sanding it down. And when it got to the point where I felt like, oh, I went a little too far, that's where I stopped. And again, that little nubbin right there, that's clearly visible in the show, so I left that there. Or rather, I added it. This is sintra also. This is the same pink as the Pichon. There is a little eyelet right here so that I can hang it on the wall, but otherwise, that's Nachon, and the pre-Nachon.
As for weapons, they're geared up with optical guns for hunting monsters. But we've got defense shields, so as long as those are up, it's easy pickings.
This is a defensive field generator, or defensive shield. This is the thing that kind of helps protect them against the optical weapons. Pretty much everybody either wears it on a belt, one guy wears it on a sash, but for the most part, they just sort of have this on their body. But really, this is just a piece of sintra with some acrylic. I sanded it so that it had a little bit of that crystal pattern. I think I've seen it described as a crystal. The crystal properties or something somehow protect you from the optical weapons. Me, personally, my own headcanon, I felt like it's an electronic thing, so I put a little LED in it. Okay, I put a couple of LEDs in it. This is just some blue cob that I had lined up. It's diffused with some plastizote. That's really bright. And it's okay. The body is just sintra, and then the screws are little, I think they're like 256 screws. It's pretty simple. There was a couple of different colors. There's purple, there's blue. It's blue because Xenon's is blue. A couple of 2016s. This is running 6 volts again. It's 5 volt cob, but I'm running it at 6 volts just so I can maximize it. Not much to this one, but I saw it and I thought it was a cool little device, so I wanted to make one. And that's pretty much it.
You'll spend most of your credits on it, but this one's good. The FN57. 5.7 millimeters. A Type 54 Black Star.
These are the pistols. Kirito has an FN57, and Death Gun uses the Type 54. This actually isn't a Type 54, this is a TT-33, which is the Russian version, as opposed to the Chinese version, which is pretty much the same thing. This one is actually just a spring pistol. There is a gas blowback version available, but it doesn't have the black star on it. It has just... Slight correction, there are multiple gas blowback versions available with the star, but they also have CCCP around the star. The spring pistol doesn't, it's just a star. Apparently I had forgotten about that. This is surprisingly small. When Death Gun has it and is doing this thing, it's surprisingly hard to not cover up that star right there. I already have small hands. Yeah, I got this just to go with the rest of the Death Gun stuff because this was kind of a critical prop. FN57, this is a Tokyo Marui gas blowback. It's super, super loud for a gas blowback. I got this around the same time I bought that P90, like 2018-ish. And I got this directly from Japan, so it didn't have the blaze orange tip in it. Otherwise, it's just a gas blowback pistol. But again, it's critical to go along with the character beats.
Domo.
I'm almost done with my side. How about you, David?
Jeez, you're fast. I'm only halfway done. And don't make fun of my name.
Speaking of, here's my Kagemitsu EX. I made this back in 2015. Wow. This was scratch built with raw aluminum, a couple of MHS parts, carabiner that is not actually correct. This doesn't actually follow what a Kagemitsu G4 is, which is what Kirito has. It's just sort of like my own design with the cues for inspiration, but there was really no intent to make it a replica. I think it originally had like a crystal shard in it, but this one has a Nanobiscotti version 4, so it's got 3 sound fonts, 3 different colors, and it's NeoPixel. I chose purple, blue, and red because those are the 3 colors that photon swords are in the show. It's actually turned down also. That's it. That's about it. This one's going up on the wall, just with all the other ones. So, yeah.
Kirito! Hey! Within 10 seconds?
If someone dies in front of you someday, make sure you use it.
This is Klein's sword from the original first season, Sword Art Online, the Aincrad arc. It's pretty much just a basic katana, but with the bolsters right there. The color scheme is pretty distinct. It's actually pretty basic with red, gold, and black. So this is actually a katana toy that I got off of Amazon, and it's actually pretty cool because it lights up. This right here, that's all frosted acrylic, I think. And the way you turn it on is that there's a little USB right there that's touch sensitive, and you just hit it twice and it turns it on. Not gonna lie, it's a pretty damn cool thing because it's a full-size katana and it lights up too. So there's a line of cob LEDs that goes all the way down the spine, but the degree that it lights up is actually pretty impressive. It actually came in different color scheme. There was a red wrap and the ray skin was pink, but the end cap and the Suba was already gold, so I didn't really need to do much about that. The bolsters are actually aluminum that I cut, filed, and powder coated because I had a gold that was pretty close. If you look closely, you can see that it is a shade or two off, but from this far, it's close enough. So I unwrapped the red, painted the ray skin red, but then I got some black silk, and this was the first time doing like actual tsukimaki. I did it with tape on the Ramkota lightsaber, but this was the first time doing it with like actual like silk. Comparing it to the one that already came pre-wrapped, it doesn't look that bad in comparison, considering it was my first time, so. So that is Klein's sword, the Klein'tana.
Are you the real deal? I'll ask you again. Are you the real deal?
This is the Death Gun mask, obviously. It's an airsoft mask that was apparently not very popular because I got it for like half price. It's actually a pretty good mask. I just repainted it after I popped the eyes out and replaced them with these. The eyes do light up, which is pretty awesome. And I can still wear it, even though I can't see a damn thing out of it. In order to get the red eyes, after I popped the eyes out, I had to kind of remold some of this, so this is all epoxy putty around there. And then I painted it, and then I sealed it off by like putting tape over it and then filling it with clear resin. And then once the front side was sealed off, then I could put in the red resin behind it. What I did here was I just laid it down flat and filled it with clear resin that I tinted red. So this whole thing is flat so that I could fit the LEDs on it. And it's held in place with a little bit of Velcro. The whole purpose is so that like I can still see out of this, but for like pictures and stuff, I can put this back in, turn it on, and then my eyes light up. That is all red cob, and it's diffused by like 1/2 inch plastizote, which comes off as perfectly solid red. This has the same setup as the lightsaber S-Stock. There's a little 5-volt up converter and a USB-C charger for the 18650. And what's also cool is that I put the button right here, and the first time I put it on, my chin actually hit it. So this basically, like when you put it on, your chin bumps it there and turns it on, and then when you take it off, your chin bumps it again and turns it off. That's actually pretty cool how that worked out. The hood, I just got off of Amazon. This part goes in under your arms. There's a little piece that covers up your face, and then the rest of it is just a hood. Death Gun's hood is pretty distinct. It has a real high collar and actually does cover up a little bit of the chin area. So I wanted something specifically of that kind of coverage, just because I knew I wasn't going to find a cloak that did everything that Death Gun cloak does, but I could at least find a hood that does that, and then work from that outward. But yeah. That is Mr. Death Gun. And now I got everything back on the table. Yeah, that's all my SAO GGO stuff. Well, SAO, SAO II, and GGO. They all go by different names for each season, but it's a cool show. You should check it out. I'll just turn everything on one last time. It's pretty cool. It's washing everything else out. Anyway, but yeah, another round of insert topic stuff. It's always fun to make this kind of stuff, and now I'm kind of running out of room, but in my opinion, that's a good problem to have. It will soon be not a good problem to have, but for the time being, it's a pretty cool problem to have, so we'll see you later, and thanks for watching. In the interim, I've taken to putting them on guitar stands, because I had extra guitar stands, because I finally hung up all my guitars. It works. Keeps them out of the way. My head is just not working. I wanted to say so much in that sentence, and nothing came to mind. Sorry. You okay? Did I hit you in the face? That's not funny. Don't laugh at that.